Jacob. Jacob the scoundrel. Jacob the thief. Jacob the wheeler and the dealer, the one who takes what is not his. Jacob on the run from his brother Esau's anger. Jacob at this time the non-limping one. Well, here I am. Wherever here is. It's getting dark, so I better stop for the night. Pretty wild looking, though. I haven't seen many people here, and in fact, I haven't seen many animals either. But I have felt them lurking, skulking, following for a while. Especially as dusk came on. I wonder if this place has a name. I wonder if anyone else has ever been here before. Doesn't look like it. It's all grown over and there isn't much of a track. I guess I must have lost the path a while back. Sure is getting dark fast. And cold. Oh, I miss the fires back in Beersheba. Home. What I wouldn't give for a peaceful night's sleep in my tent. Wouldn't be peaceful, though. Home will never be peaceful again. Not while Esau is still alive. So huge and strong, and his anger. His anger. Well, I had to run. What else was I to do? So here I am. Wherever here is. Did it get more quiet? It's like there's a blanket of silence all around me these days. Walking, wandering, trudging on, with only my voice in my head. My thoughts streaming on and circling back on themselves, just in case I missed the gravity the first 10 times. Sure is lonely out here. Maybe this is what I deserve. Maybe this is what happens when you sin. I guess I did break down everything I've ever known. But I thought I was going to get more. Now it seems I have nothing. Esau and I have been at it since the day one. My mother says even before, when we were in the womb. They say I came out holding Esau's heel. Yeah, we are technically twins, but I never felt it. I can't see what he loved so much about traipsing across the wilderness, hunting, killing, skinning with his bare hands. We always seemed to be having run-ins with each other. I'd say something snide, and he would threaten me. But you see, Father loved him more. Anyway, I guess I thought I'd had the better of him. Got the better of him, the better of Father for that matter. We were twins, but Mother always whispered something to me about the second son. It was the only time I felt special. So when I got my chance to rise above my status, get a little revenge, I took it. I took it. In the end, there wasn't anything to do but run. I've left everything behind. I've lost everything. I'm supposed to be traveling to some relative's house, but during the past few nights I've given up hope that I'll ever make it. I mean, let's face it, I never was the tough one. Maybe this is what I deserve. Mother said that Father's blessing would help me, but after I tricked him like that, I'm not sure the blessing will hold. Oh, sure, he used the name of God, and he was always mumbling about that God he's always mumbling about, but from what I've heard, that God doesn't like treachery, lying, cheating, or little brothers who try to be more than they're meant to be. So I guess I'm stuck out here, alone, cold, scared for my life. Maybe this is what happens to you when you sin. You end up far away from those you love, and far away from anything you could call home, far away from comfort and safety. And it's not like the sin began with cheating my brother. I guess out here in this wilderness place by myself, I realize now that my wealth, my lifestyle, the creature comforts I've had, the way I dress, the food I eat, who I hang out with, who I'm scared of, who I consider clean, who I think is dirty, how busy I get, how little I pray, how arrogant my prayers are when I do pray, my questionable social ethics, ways I'm so invested in the oppressive ways of my society, the apathy for the government and leaders of this nation, my higher education, how my faith group has been so misguided, how religion has hurt millions, what I think is important, the arguments I get into, the battles I choose, the ones I avoid, the hurt I cause, which at times seems like an endless list. All of this has brought me to this place. So here I am, wherever here is. Guess I'll just put my head down on this rock and try to get some sleep. Jacob is probably the most stellar example of the 21st century that we have in all of Scripture. Probably the most stellar example of 21st century Western North American empire and power. Cheating, swindling, stepping on people, breaking community, who's in, who's out, talking about taking what isn't ours. Actually, it sounds a lot like Donald Trump. By Trump, I mean us, right? By Trump, I mean us. Because as much as we hate to admit it, Donald Trump is the apotheosis, the pinnacle, the model of all that we have allowed to go down in our society. We all put him there, and we allow it to keep happening. Maybe that's why people get so angry at him, or we love to talk about him so much, or follow him on Twitter, because we are terrified that he, in fact, is just like us. What I realized this week is that in the past, when preaching about Jacob's ladder, I'm gonna climb up Jacob's ladder. Where's Cornelia when I need her? Oh, yeah, there you are down there. When I preached about Jacob's ladder, I've got some great images here. I've always talked about the angels going up and down from heaven. There's a bunch of them. Did I put them on a timer, Penny? No, just Penny's my timer. Up and down to heaven. And I've always said that the point of this scripture lesson is that for the first time in our story, the heaven and earth are connected. That we find out that the divine and the ordinary can intermingle. Guess what I totally missed every single time when staring at that ladder and wondering about the great image of the angels going up and down? The next verse. And God stood beside him. And God stood beside him. The angels aren't going up and down from God to earth, from God to earth. God stands right next to Jacob. It says it right there. And God stood beside him. And then God goes on this beautiful promise speech about all the stuff. The children are going to be like the dust. And he promises and promises and promises that he will build Jacob and his descendants into a great nation. God stands right next to Jacob. Right there. You don't see any artwork about that. You don't see kids coloring that in Sunday school. We always are talking about the ladder going up and down and all the angels up and down and how beautiful it is. Was it a ziggurat or not? I don't know. Isn't that just us, though? We're always looking at the wrong thing. We're always looking for God in the dazzling places. Oh, look, angels going up and down the ladder. How do they get their wings up and down the ladder? Hope they don't trip on the ropes. We're always looking in the wrong places for God. And guess what? God's right there beside us. The extraordinary and constant message of this passage is that God is with us, God has plans for us, and God wishes through us and will not forsake us. This is the great and yet moment. Jacob, us. We got a lot of problems. We do a lot of rotten things. We live some crazy lives. We can't imagine that God has any plans for us. And yet, God says, I'm going to do this and this and this. And I dreamed this. Oh, and I've got this great big hope. And by the way, I'm calling you. Come on. It's you. It's you. And like Jacob said, me? Like Moses said, me? Like Jonah said, me? God says, it's you. I don't care what's happening. I got plans. And you're going to make them happen. Luckily, we have glimpses here at Mayfair United Church that God is right here with us, with plans for us. Why? You can't escape it when you baptize baby Brady. He's so cute. God with us right there in the middle of our mess. Baptism is our great and yet moment at Mayfair once a month. We're just falling apart and our lives are hurting and there's broken relationships and the news is drastic and there's hurricanes and earthquakes. Everything seems to be going to pot, and yet got a baby for you to baptize. Don't forget your own baptism. What is this? What is this? Don't forget your baptism, God says. I have plans for you. Then there's the great joy of renewed community in fall. Could you feel it last week and this week? Look how many kids have come back. They remembered where we are. You've returned and we're forming and reforming, creating and recreating community again in the fall. Between now and Christmas is so exciting. Well, really everything gets kind of dull after dinner theater. We know that. But between now and dinner theater, a lot of fun. A lot of great community. We have all these chances to rub our shoulders together, talk about important things, do important work, love the world, because God's got a plan for us. And yet, God has a plan for us. Coloring with the kids in worship last week. How many of you sat at the table and colored? There's some really nice artwork left outside my door. Yeah, it was yours, Gene, I could tell. Inside the lines. Very nice. There's beautiful tulips and bumblebees and lions and wheat sheaves. Wheat sheaves and maize. Maize, the sustenance of so many people in Africa, it said in writing next to it. So beautiful. Coloring with kids in church is an and yet moment. Just when you think we're lost and done for, God calls you to color with children in church. I got plans for you, God says. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. So many times we get to see that God is right with us. Last week I also called it Diaper Fest. Did you see the amount of diapers that came in the door? Diapers and diapers and diapers. Given to this lovely family who could use it. Piles of diapers. I've never seen so many diapers in my life. And yet, when it seems like the world is going to hell in a handbasket, when lives seem so messy, so filled with trials, we could just barely get the kids out to school in the morning. Work seems like drudgery. Our sisters and brothers are dying of cancer. And yet, God stands beside us. Not on a ladder, not up and down, not far away. God stands right beside us and whispers, I've got a plan for you. And I'm going to do all of this. And you're going to join me. And we're going to make something happen. Thank you, sir. Amen.